Dan here, Max's PL Videos, and today I want to talk about what might just be my favorite product that Behringer has ever produced. So what do we have here? Well, this is a graphic equalizer made by the folks over at Behringer. And I really like it. I'm not a Behringer dealer, I just am a fan of this unit. And apparently I'm not alone. There's enough of these out in the wild. This is a popular enough unit that I've seen some exact replicas of it popping up on Amazon and eBay. Now they don't have the FBQ system that gives the FBQ line of equalizers their name, but every last feature, even the shape of the faders, exactly the same. And copying a Behringer product, what an age that we live in now. But let's talk about why I like this thing. And the reason I like this actually has to do flat out with the feature set. And that's something that Behringer is kind of known for, both for better or worse. They have a habit of, we're gonna slam as many features into a box as we can. That way, if you're looking at two different units in the store, well, that one has more knobs on it. That one has more features. And in this case, they did it really well. And it kind of set a standard for me in terms of what I want out of an equalizer. So let's get into what these things actually can do and why I like them so much. Now there are 3 different versions, and this is the version I'd recommend, okay? So if you're looking at, say, the 15-band version, it's missing a key feature. The 15-band version, not only do you lose a bunch of the extra bands of equalization, you lose the adjustable low cut. Okay, this has a high pass filter. I'm gonna call it low cut just because that is what it's labeled here. I'm used to calling it a high pass filter from, you know, my equalizers on my DAW, but low cut is what's labeled on here. So that's what we're gonna call it. It gets rid of a bunch of low frequencies. And if you're using these in a particular situation, say stage monitors, that can be incredibly useful because you can get rid of a bunch of unnecessary low frequency information that's going to be cluttering up your monitors, causing some stage rumble, wasting power from your amplifiers. Great. On the 15-band version, it's a button. Okay, so that's kind of your main differences between this and the small one. Yeah, the smaller one doesn't have the high cut, but I personally don't really use the high cut very often. Your mileage may vary. I don't see that as a selling feature for the Goldilocks version here, but the low cut being adjustable to me is worth jumping up to this if you have the rack space. If you only have a single rack space, the 15-band is perfect because all 3 versions of this, because there's the 15, this 31, and a bigger brother 31, have the built-in crossover. This is also very useful. So if you only have 2 rack spaces or a single rack space and you need a crossover, consider this line of equalizers because the crossover that's built in is what most of us need. It's adjustable, it gets the low frequencies out of your tops and sends it to the sub. That's mostly what I use my crossovers for. One less thing to carry around, perfect. Now the bigger version, it is, well, bigger. So you've got a little more room for the sliders, it's got a little more real estate there. And it adds 2 extra features, one that I never used and one that I didn't need. The one that I never really used was the pink noise generator. I own a cell phone, I have cables, I can create pink noise if I ever need it, so I just never really used the built-in one that was on there. It's handy to have it. So if you have the bigger unit, or if you have space for it and you really want those bigger faders, that might come in handy for you. Everybody's different. The other feature it has is a limiter. Now that's a little more useful if you don't have a limiter anywhere in your chain. I have built-in limiters on all of my active speakers. I have them on my amps for my passive speakers. I just didn't need a limiter in the box. I wanted to save some space, so I ended up with a couple of these and got rid of the bigger one. Yeah. But yeah, that's why I would go with this unit. Like I said, the adjustable low cut, worth it on its own. Now it does have a few other adjustments. You can get rid of the whole, bypass the whole thing. It has an in and out selector so you can see whether or not you're peaking before or after and things like that. Cool. And then we have the FBQ and the range. Now, the range is pretty common on any equalizer in this kind of bracket where it changes the adjustment of these. So if you have it set to 6, for example, if you put it all the way to top, it's adjusting it by 6. If you have it on 12, well, put it all the way to top, it's adjusting by 12. Yeah, pretty standard. But the FBQ, like I said, that is the thing that these get their name from, and it's a pretty clever system. It's just not as clever as I think some people thought it was. I've seen some complaints about these where, oh, I turned on the feedback detection and I got feedback while the band was playing, and I turned it on and it was just lighting everything up. It doesn't really work that way. What it does, so if you have the FBQ off, there is a red LED on every band of this. If you turn it on, they are now turned off unless they are getting signal, which is pretty clever. It's probably a really simple circuit to make it do that, but as soon as audio is running through that particular band, it lights up, which if you're ringing out your monitors, can give you a visualization of where that is. Now, you could use a visualizer on, say, your phone or something like that, but having it built into this unit, especially when these came out, because I mean, I've had these for 12 or 15 years, that was just really handy and still is. It's not a miracle worker of like, there's feedback on stage while the band's on, you can find it. It is there for ringing your monitors out ahead of time, and your mains. Very handy to have. I mean, especially if you're new to this and your ears just aren't trained to track it down the old-fashioned way, this can really help. Your mileage may vary. I think it's actually a really clever implementation of a really good idea. And that's kind of the story of this equalizer. They took a bunch of really, really useful features, crammed them into a box, including one that they're the only ones, as far as I know, that do it. What more could I ask for? So who do I recommend these for? Well, let's say you're a DJ. Well, I mean, this particular unit here that I have would be my recommendation across the board, but you might be able to get away with the single rack unit. You're not dealing with as critical, needing the clinical adjustment of the 31 band, and you get yourself a bit of control over your audio. On top of that, you get the crossover, all in one rack space, perfect. But again, if you have room, even if you're just DJing, this thing's great, especially with that adjustment there. If you are running stage monitors, having a set of these, right? You grab 2 of these, run, 4 monitors on stage. They all get their own EQ. They all get their own filtering. Awesome. Awesome. So if you're running stage monitors, these are a welcome addition to anybody's rack. If you're running a, I don't know, digital mixer board that has built-in stuff to handle feedback and adjust your sound, that's why these are kind of probably dying off a little bit in terms of usefulness for you. But the rest of us running analog boards with digital effects and things like that, this might be the answer. And for me, so far has been. We're trying out a new digital board for our live rig, and these might get retired to our B rig, hence them being out of the rack and me wanting to show them off. But I digress. I like these. I recommend them. Your mileage may vary, but yeah, if you're after a graphic equalizer, don't sleep on these just because it seems like they've got, like I said, all the checkbox features and stuff. The checkbox features it has should be on every graphic equalizer, in my opinion. It just saves a bunch of extra space in the rack by giving you it all in one box, and that's just great. All at a fairly affordable price for what it is. Skip the, no-name brand. Skip the no-name brand copies on Amazon, though. The dead on arrival rate on those seems to be much higher than I would consider acceptable. But I've been This is the Behringer FBQ3102. I always get that backwards. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, all that stuff, and I will see you in the next video.